Imagine you are standing on the rooftop of your office building, screaming for help, when the person standing right next to you, someone you had coffee with this morning, has their head blown completely off their shoulders to no gunshot. No warning, just gone. And then it happens again and again. Down in the lobby below you, three more colleagues die the exact same way, while a security guard on the ground looks up at the screaming survivors and simply turns away. This is not a war zone. This is not a horror film set. This is a Tuesday morning at Belko Industries, and what happens next will force 80 ordinary office workers to answer the most disturbing question a human being can ever face. How far would you go to survive? Let's go back to where this nightmare began. We open the streets of Bogota, Colombia, chaotic, loud, and completely alive. Street vendors fill the pavements, traffic crawls through every intersection, and the city moves at its own relentless pace. But outside the gates of Belko Industries, an American corporation operating in South America with a full staff of U.S. employees, something feels immediately, quietly wrong. Armed guards are checking every single vehicle, every ID, every face. Even the company's own COO Barry is stopped and asked to identify himself, something that has never happened before. And every local Colombian employee who arrives for work is quietly turned away at the gate without explanation. Inside, 80 American employees settle into their morning as if it were any other day. New hire Danny gets her welcome briefing, including an explanation of a small tracking device implanted in the back of her skull. Standard procedure, she's told. Protection against kidnapping, given the location. She nods and moves on. Creep Wendell stares at Leandra from across the office floor, long past the point of discomfort. Mike, a genuinely decent guy, introduces himself to Leandra. There's an obvious connection between them, but she pulls back. She's just come through a divorce and isn't ready for anything new. Mike understands. He heads to find his co-worker Terry, who confirms what Mike already suspects. The building feels emptier than usual, and nobody knows why. Mike calls security officer Evan. Evan has no answers either. Something is off, but nobody can name it yet. Then the intercom comes to life. A calm, completely emotionless voice announces that there are currently 80 people inside Belko Industries. It informs them that most of those 80 people will be dead within 8 hours, unless a specific task is completed within the next 30 minutes. The task: eliminate 2 colleagues, voluntarily, or face consequences far worse than death. For 3 full seconds, nobody makes a sound. Then everyone breaks at once. People grab phones, dead. Cell networks, jammed. Mike tries to keep a clear head and directs everyone toward the exits in an orderly evacuation. But as they move, enormous reinforced steel plates slam down over every door and every window simultaneously from the outside. The building is completely sealed. There is no way out and no way to call for help. Mike sends maintenance workers Bud and Lonnie to cut through the steel with a blowtorch. The plates don't even warm up. A group races to the rooftop hoping to signal someone, anyone below. There's a guard in the post directly beneath them. They scream. They wave. He looks up, holds their gaze for a moment, and looks away. COO Barry tries to sell everyone on the idea that this is a prank, an elaborate corporate psychological test. Don't panic. Stay calm. Mike isn't buying it. The empty building, the armed guards, the suspicious activity at the old hangar next door. None of it fits a prank. And then it happens. On the rooftop, mid-sentence, a female worker's head explodes without any warning whatsoever. In the lobby below, 3 more colleagues die the same way in rapid succession. Skulls detonating like something installed inside them was just remotely triggered. Because that is exactly what happened. Barry examines one of the bodies. No bullet wound. No external force. Mike confirms what they are both already thinking. It was the tracers. The small devices implanted in the back of every international employee's head under the guise of kidnapping protection are not tracers at all. They are remotely detonated explosive charges. And whoever is speaking through that intercom has their finger on the switch. Mike locks himself in a bathroom and starts cutting at the back of his own neck with a knife, desperate to get it out before it can be used on him. The intercom voice interrupts him within seconds. Stop immediately, it says, or your device detonates in 10 seconds. Mike drops the knife. The staff tear open the walls and find what they already suspected: cameras in every single room, every corridor, every bathroom, every stairwell. They have been watched from the moment they walked through the front door this morning. The voice returns with round 2. 30 people must be eliminated within the next 2 hours. Failure to reach that number will result in 60 simultaneous detonations. The experiment, the voice confirms with complete calm, is entirely real. The building fractures instantly into 2 camps. In the basement, Lonnie decides immediately which side he's on. He picks up a heavy object and beats his colleague Bud to death without a single word of warning or hesitation. He then finds Danny hiding nearby and goes for her too. But Danny fights back with everything she has and manages to slam Lonnie into a concrete pillar hard enough to kill him. She is now alone in the basement. Upstairs, Barry, Wendell, and Terry have already made their calculations. They begin collecting knives from the cafeteria. Barry frames it as simple mathematics. 30 people have to die regardless, so the only real question is who makes the decision. Better them than someone less organized. On the other side, Mike, Leandra, and the remaining staff refuse. Leandra proposes hanging banners from the rooftop to alert the outside world. She and Mike gather paint and rope and head up. When they manage to hang a sign reading, "We are being held hostage," the guards on the ground below open fire immediately, forcing them back inside. Marty, still convinced that the water supply has been drugged, empties every single container in the building while this is happening. Nobody stops him. Nobody has the energy. On the stairs, Mike tells Leandra what he now believes. This is a controlled human experiment. Someone wants data. Barry appears without warning and knocks Mike unconscious with a single blow to the head. Wendell corners Evan and demands the armory keys. When Evan throws them away rather than hand them over, Wendell stabs him to death and retrieves them from the floor. Barry opens the armory. Guns are distributed. The remaining staff are herded back into the lobby at gunpoint, and Barry begins selecting targets. Calmly, systematically, prioritizing the elderly and the unwell first. When the numbers still aren't adding up fast enough, he simply starts shooting people at random. Mike is chosen. Terry is about to pull the trigger when Danny kills the power from the basement. And in the sudden darkness, Mike and several others manage to scatter and hide. The lights come back. The voice announces that only 29 of the required 30 have been eliminated. 2 minutes remain. One more is needed. Leandra finds Terry alone and helpless, and has him completely at her mercy. He begs. Despite everything he has done, she lets him go. Time runs out. 31 heads detonate across the building simultaneously, including Terry's. The final stage. The rule is now as simple as it gets. Whoever kills the most people in the next hour walks out alive. Current count: Barry with 11, Wendell with 7. The building descends into something that no longer resembles a workplace, or even a crime scene. It resembles a hunting ground. Wendell stops pretending to be human entirely. He moves through the corridors dragging bodies, dismembering them in the cafeteria with the focused calm of someone who has been waiting their whole life for permission to do this. When he finally corners Leandra, she doesn't beg. She shoves a table into him with everything she has left and buries an axe in him. Barry tracks a blood trail directly to the closet where Mike and Leandra are hiding. They share a quiet moment. Mike promises her they're getting out. She doesn't answer. She's already gone. Just the two men now, Barry and Mike. The fight that follows is not cinematic. It's not choreographed. It's two completely exhausted men trying to end each other in a blood-soaked office corridor. Mike wins, not with a gun, not with a knife, with a tape dispenser swung over and over until Barry goes still. The intercom congratulates him. The steel plates retract. Guards enter. Mike is taken to the old hangar next door. He is sat in a chair and comes face to face with the man behind the voice. The scientist explains, with the composure of someone presenting a quarterly report, that every second of the last 8 hours was a controlled experiment. The tracers, the lockdown, the instructions, the staged escalation, all of it meticulously designed to observe how ordinary people respond to extreme survival pressure. The data, he explains, will be used to model human social behavior for the future. He says this as if it justifies everything. As if 80 people's lives are a reasonable price for a dataset. What the scientist does not know is that during the final minutes inside the building, Mike quietly pocketed the unexploded tracers that Leandra's group had removed from the dead, and has already planted them on the guard standing in this room. Mike reaches the detonator. Every guard drops. He takes a weapon, eliminates the remaining security, and empties every bullet he has into the scientist until the gun clicks on an empty chamber. He walks out of the hangar alone, tilts his face toward the sky, closes his eyes, lets the gun fall from his hand. The camera slowly pulls back and reveals a room full of screens, each showing a different Belko building in a different location, with a different group of survivors still inside, still being watched, still being counted. The experiment was never just this building. It was never just 80 people. It is a system, and it is still running. Here's the question the Belko experiment is really asking, not about the movie, but about you personally. In that building, some people grabbed a weapon within the first 30 minutes. Some people died protecting strangers they barely knew. And one person survived by holding onto his humanity for as long as he possibly could, and then doing what he had to do right at the very end. Which one would you be? Tell me honestly in the comments. I genuinely read every single one. If this one got under your skin, share it with someone who you think handles pressure better than you do. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. I have something even more intense lined up for tomorrow.